rice cookers.
This time we talk about subframes. The K-Swap chassis is using an EG Civic subframe, so I need to make these CRV lower control arms work with it. Apparently this inner bushing here is slightly smaller on the EG, so I've got some EG bushings here because this will not work with it apparently. Same with the rear one, need to use EG. So not sure about the sway bar as well. It's just going to be something a bridge I cross once I get in there. So let's get these off and see what sort of setup we're working with. This is a CRV lower control arm. This is the EG Civic lower control arm bushing rear on the front lower control arm. You can see that they're slightly different shape, different offset. And this one actually comes apart, whereas the EG is one unit. And that goes onto your CRV arm like this. And then we'll tighten that up once it's got load on it. CRV front bushing, CRV bolt. Perfect. But if you get a Civic bolt, which is this one, not so perfect. Sausage down a hallway situation. If we get an EG bushing, which is this one here, there's your CRV lower control arm bolt, and there's your EG Civic one. Fits in there perfect. So, as far as I'm aware, this bushing replaces that one. So you put an EG bushing into a CRV lower control arm. Same with the back one here. So I think the next step would be to see if we can push this bushing out, push this one in. So again, with the subframes and the steering racks and everything, keep all the bolts. So the bolts for here, the bolts for here, everything from the EG Civic or DC Integra donor car, keep all of those bolts. They're going to come in handy and you don't really want to have to go out and find them. Right, I managed to get one bushing out. Because it's got a tapered end to it, this flat piece, the bushing only can press out one way. I've literally just gone into lockdown here in New Zealand, so having access to a press and all that kind of stuff isn't an option. Probably wouldn't have helped anyway, but burnt this out, got a hacksaw, cut and then folded the inside of this, and yeah, tapped it out the back. This is the state of the knuckle there, the lower control arm. So let's set up a camera and I'll show you the process for how I did it. I'm going to use fire and a hacksaw and hammering. Yeah. Oh, bushings are in the freezer, so apparently that's going to help them slide in a bit easier. So let's set up a camera. Okay, so the first thing I did was get the bushing that I want to replace clamped into the vise, and then move it forward and back until I've torn it. There we go. Now that that's torn inside of there, it's going to make burning it out a bit easier. Let's go burn this bitch out. We got the center rubber burnt out of this, so now we need to get the remainder out so we can get in here with a hacksaw. Now that we've got a little section cleared out of rubber here, it's time to cut a groove in it. So I'm going to take a hacksaw, loosen the blade off, put it through here, and then reattach it. Now you'll be able to see an inner sleeve, which is this. And what we're going to do is we're going to cut a line all the way down, creating a weak spot, almost all the way through to the control arm itself. And then we're going to fold up the steel sleeve here using a screwdriver, which is going to reduce the overall diameter, and then it's going to allow us to tap this out. Well, as you can see by that, we've got a cut running along the length of it. Right, now let's get a flathead and a chisel, start bending this thing out of the way. Expecting that to come out so easy, but there you go. And I have done a little bit of damage in here, unfortunately. The other one was a little bit damaged too, so get a Dremel and a couple of files, and we'll knock this down. Yeah. Cleaned up pretty good. No major high spots. I mean, ideally, you don't want to leave any marks in here, but whatever. Let's get the new EG bushings and see if we can press them in. Got them in the freezer, so that should help them shrink fit a little bit. And we'll load this up with some grease. Okay, we got this. It's all frosty. Some grease, and we've got the right size socket, which in my case is a 25. It's either going to be a 25 or a 26. I've gone a little under. Okay, got some grease in there. Hey, I've just found this, which is in my spare outer CV pile. This is off an automatic K-series. Fits perfectly over this bush, that way, with the tapered edge. Yep, I think I'm pretty happy with that. Right, well, this is the mounting point where it's supposed to go. So we've got ourselves an EG bolt ready to go on here. Beauty. And we've got these two back here, which are for this rear bushing back. Now this is all just going to get kind of loosely put in here because I'm not really sure what's happening with the sway bar. Just got to figure out what bolt to use on the subframe for that rear bushing. Still one bolt missing, so go through the pile and see what we got. When I pulled the CRV rear bushing here all apart on the bench before, we had to undo some bolts. The one on the inside from the CRV is the same length as the one used for the EG. So if you haven't saved this bolt from when you had the EG rack, don't freak out because you can use the CRV one. So let's get this threaded under there, and that'll be everything loosely in place. This last piece, this last bolt, is this spot right here, the inner one. These are the bolts from the CRV. There we go. That's really close to the... What the fuck? It's hitting on the subframe. It's resting against the subframe right there. Okay, so we just saw that the control arm is very close there. So let's get some weight on all of this. Load the suspension and see what we're dealing with once we load it up. So theoretically that is the lowest point because the shock is traveled all the way down. So let's go have a little look at this lower control arm, see how much space we got now. Okay, so the suspension is completely loaded. The arm is in its up position. The higher this arm goes, the more clearance I have. The write-up online for doing the swap that I found said use energy suspension bushings only for these arms. I don't really know why. Maybe it places the arm slightly further back and forward, which would give me the clearance I need. Even at this height, it's still contacting. It's not contacting a lot, but it's still contacting. So I think what I'm going to do is do a combination of trimming the arm a tiny bit and maybe denting the subframe a small amount. So I've got it marked. See if I can get in there and show you. Suspension loaded. There is a very small gap in some places, but yeah, I don't really know what's going on. Maybe this bushing needs to be pressed further to one side. Maybe if all of this was to slide that way a fraction, it might give us some more here. Either way, I'm going to have to pull this arm back out because that's not going to work. Ah, the joys of swapping. I just took the arm out and managed to press the bushing through just a little bit more, and I've got the suspension completely compressed this time. I didn't actually have it completely compressed before. I don't know what I was thinking. I only lifted it enough to start lifting off the jack slightly, but I've got it completely compressed now. It's lifting all the way to the car. Got a jack under there for safety, because fucking dodgy shit. So let's get underneath and have a quick look and see how we're doing for the gap. Okay, we've got gap. And that's with the suspension compressed. Okay, we'll go back to full droop, which would be the shock just holding the arm in place naturally, and we'll see what we're looking at for gap. Okay, and it's making contact. Just in here. So looks like I'm going to have to do some clearancing. Just put this on the belt sander and sanded down that edge a bit. So let's chuck it in and see if that's enough. I've got the floor jack to simulate the lowest point for suspension droop. This car is getting lifted, so this may change slightly, but it's at least a good starting point for measurements. So what we've got here is a very, very small gap here in this section, but up the front we're good. Right in here. Just going to take a little bit more out. Only needs like 3 or 4 mil. Whew. Just got back from another session on the bench grinder, and we got daylight. Look at that. That's going to work. And as it goes up to full load, it's got even more room. So I don't know if this is a 96 RD1 CRV problem. If you're doing this in America and your left-hand drive, there might be a difference with the control arms at the bottom. I'm not sure because I don't have one to test that, but it also might be that these are OEM EG bushings in the rear, and in the front, the recommended bushings on the K20 org thread is energy polyurethane bushings. It says that's pretty critical. Doesn't say why, but this might be the reason. Those aftermarket bushings might put this control arm in a slightly better place. So if you're going to be doing this yourself and you don't want to clearance this, I'd recommend probably going with the energy suspension bushings. In saying that though, I'd rather do this and have OEM bushings than, yeah. Got the other bushing pressed in. It went in very easily. So my issue with the other side was that the inner side of this, like the race of the arm, was too rough, I'm guessing, and it was too much resistance. So I made sure this was nice and polished, used a shitload of grease, and put a lot of pressure on it really quickly, and it just went through nice and easy. Just test fitted it to the car, same issue as the other side. This part here where I've painted is colliding with the subframe. So let's get this on the belt sander, and I'll show you the process I did for clearancing. Just ran a test fit of the sway bar from the CRV onto the EG subframe with these arms installed. Not going to work. Might be able to space it off, but I don't think so. So let me know if you've run a car similar to this without a front sway bar. I can't imagine it's very good, but might be the only option I have for now. Future option could be like an aftermarket adjustable sway bar for a DC Integra or an EG Civic, because that might allow for placement. I don't know. The problem is that the lower arms are wider than on the EG. The knuckle places the knuckle further out. I'm not sure if that changes the pickup point for the sway bar or not, but gonna have to find a used one from someone, hopefully locally, just to test fit, because I can't seem to find any information on it. Anyway, that's gonna do it for today. Next episode we'll be looking at making the axles work, so the B series automatic ABS ring outer CV joint going onto the K series axle, so that we can retain ABS. If you're not retaining ABS, don't need to worry about any of that. You just slap the axles in it from the RD5 you've wrecked, or whatever aftermarket solution you want. But yeah, that's gonna do it for today. Thanks for watching. Make sure you are subscribed, because it really helps, and every subscription is another subscription. Yay. And we'll see you in the next one. Cheers.